Introduction. Welcome to What's All This? Today, we journey to a seemingly idyllic corner of the world, a sun-drenched Caribbean island in the early years of the 20th century. But beneath the swaying palms and turquoise waters, a dark secret lay buried, a tale of plundered treasure ending in brutal violence that would shatter the peace of this island paradise. The Discovery. The year is 1923. The air hangs heavy with the coats on the small island of Isla Perdida. Life moved at a slow, predictable pace, dictated by the rhythm of the harvests and the gentle lapping of the waves. That tranquility was shattered one sweltering morning when the lifeless body of a Mr. Alastair Finch, who was a prominent plantation owner, was discovered far away from his sprawling cane fields, on a local beach. The scene was not one of peaceful passing, it spoke of a violent struggle, a brutal end under the unforgiving Caribbean sun. Initial investigation. News of Finch's murder spread like wildfire through the tight-knit community. There was at the time no police force on Isla Perdida. Therefore a request was made to send a team from nearby Guadeloupe, which was granted. The team that was sent consisted of a small force that were barely equipped for such a major crime. They arrived to a scene that offered more questions than answers. In this era, forensic science was in its infancy, and was even more limited on these remote islands. Investigations relied heavily on keen observation, the often unreliable accounts of witnesses, and the ingrained knowledge of the local landscape. Leading the investigation was the most capable among the team, a Sergeant Major Davies, who had served time in battle during World War I and was by now a weathered veteran of the police, possessing an uncanny ability to cut to the chase and see things many would miss. He was well aligned to the role, being hardened by the war years and also dealing with various island disputes. Nonetheless, the level of savagery, which conflicted with the tranquil shores of the idyllic Caribbean region, was a very sobering scene for any investigator, and demanded their full attention. Unraveling clues. Davies and his team set up a crime scene and began meticulously searching through the expanse of the beach and nearby shoreline. Eventually, it became apparent the only useful evidence was limited to the immediate area in and around where Finch's body lay. The sand around Finch's body was disturbed, suggesting a desperate struggle had occurred. Based on this plus significant cuts and bruises on Finch's body and face, it was evident Finch had been embroiled in a desperate physical battle and did not go down without a good fight. This suggested his assailant must have been a powerful individual. There were several faint, almost invisible footprints left in the soft sand, which potentially was one of their best leads. It was formed from footwear of some sort, presumably a boot being larger than Finch's, and had a distinctive wear pattern. Near the body, half hidden beneath a fallen palm tree leaf, lay a small, intricately carved wooden button, seemingly not belonging to the deceased. These seemingly insignificant details, though just breadcrumbs, were significant clues with a view to piecing together the events of Finch's last stand. Suspicion and motive. As the investigation got underway, it was discovered Finch was an American who settled on Isla Perdida after World War I. It became evident Finch was a well-financed man who was generally well-liked and generous man. He would regularly buy gifts for his staff and friends, put on lavish parties, and was known to be a jovial person. He had lived on Isla Perdida since the end of the war, was a wealthy man in his late 40s. He was a towering 6 feet 2 inches tall, very fit of muscular build, lived alone, and although he had immersed himself in the local community, it was difficult to find people that did not speak well of him. However, no one seemed to know much of his life prior to arriving on Isla Perdida. It was somewhat of a mystery how Finch had come to acquire his wealth, which allowed him to operate 3 large fishing vessels, and on his farm, he had the most palatial dwelling on the island with a large farm attached, and he employed others to operate it. As the investigation delved deeper, suspicion began to fall upon those who had developed resentment for Alastair Finch. There were rumors of minor land disputes with neighboring farmers, rumors of Finch being somewhat of a ladies' man, which had in 3 instances festered into some degree of animosity, and even a hushed tale of a clandestine affair with the daughter of the local governor. However, none of these situations seemed to present sufficient motive for such an end to Alastair Finch's life. One name began to surface frequently as the investigation probed deeper, that of a man named Elias, a disgruntled former overseer on Finch's farm, known for his volatile temper and recent dismissal. Fellow workers recalled seeing Elias twice searching through Finch's office, and it was on the third time that Finch caught him red-handed, leading to his dismissal. While being ejected from the property, Elias was heard shouting, "I know there's a map and I'm going to find it. Why should you be the only one?" It was 1 week later that Finch's body was discovered in the vicinity of the beach, with Elias seen on the evening before the murder. Additionally, the distinctive wear on his worn boots matched the faint print found near the body. Elias was known to whittle small wooden trinkets, and a button matching the one found at the scene was reportedly a common fastening on his worn vest. The capture. Armed with this mounting circumstantial evidence, Sergeant Major Davies and his team began tracking down Elias, which proved to be difficult despite the small size of Isla Perdida. Inevitably, he was located in a small, isolated fishing village on the eastern side of the island. The arrest proved to be tense, as Elias, who possessed a musket, was initially defiant and refused to surrender. After it was apparent he would not get away, he tried shooting his way out, but was wounded and thus surrendered. In addition to being wounded in the chest during the gunfight, he was bearing scars from a physical battle which was assumed to be with Finch. Elias was transported back to the temporary headquarters for the investigation that had been set up in a disused section of the local tavern. During the ensuing interrogation, Elias, whose condition due to his injuries was deteriorating, offered a weak alibi that quickly crumbled under Davies's persistent questioning. Meantime, the investigation by Davies' team had discovered a torn and bloodied shirt and vest hidden beneath his floorboards, and there was a wooden button missing from his vest, the others matching the same style of hand-carved wooden button that was discovered next to Finch's body. With a weight of evidence against him, Sergeant Major Davies extracted a confession from Elias, and being in constant pain from his injuries, he confessed. Motive. It was apparent from the foregoing that Elias was jealous of what Finch had achieved, but what could it be that Elias claimed Finch had knowledge of that Elias should surely have a share of? By now Elias seemed resigned to a certain death, so began to reveal at last the true motive, and it was some story he had to tell. It turns out that when Elias had first been hired by Finch, they had become close friends, and often ended up in the local tavern at night, and as the night went by secrets were shared. There is a saying, "Loose lips sink ships," and this couldn't have been more true than here. Elias confessed that during these late-night drunken sessions, Finch gradually revealed snippets of his former life, which was largely uneventful until he was immersed into World War I. It was during the war Finch was stationed in all-important Panama Canal Zone. Finch was stationed there not because the region was under attack, but because it was opened just weeks after World War I started and was considered highly vulnerable. Therefore, the United States dispatched troops to bolster its defenses fearing sabotage or German incursion. Several Caribbean islands were fortified or patrolled to protect this critical route, and it was during this period Finch became aware of the idyllic Isla Perdida. As Finch became more loose-lipped during these drinking sessions, he revealed that he had stumbled upon an extensive cave system close by to the Panama Canal. As the story went, Finch found the caves narrowed toward what appeared to be a back wall. However, he found there was a small narrow passage concealed behind rocks. Finch told Elias he spent days exploring until he eventually discovered a vast treasure trove of gold, silver, and diamonds. According to Finch, he spent 2 years transporting the treasure by small boat from this cave to a small island somewhere in the Caribbean, though it was not Isla Perdida. It was this treasure that Elias says Finch lived off, and there was more than enough for both of them, in fact enough for 100 people to live in luxury. Elias said Finch had mentioned a map, and it is apparent their relationship had soured, and this prompted Elias to try and beat the whereabouts of the map out of Finch. It is recorded that Elias only survived 5 more agonizing days, but died from his injuries. Conclusion. While the specifics of the alleged treasure remains undiscovered, there are many die-hard treasure seekers that have begun to employ modern technology to seek out if Finch's original site of discovering the treasure in the Panama Canal region could lead to there still being some remaining treasure left behind, and secondly discover the whereabouts of the treasure Finch relocated. This tale, though perhaps not etched in the grand annals of crime, echoes the dark realities that can unfold even in the most seemingly tranquil settings. Remember that even paradise can harbor deadly secrets.
Thank you for listening. Please join me next time when we will delve into another episode.